Good evening and welcome to Backwoods Investigations, the YouTube series for the Southern Illinois Monster Hunters team. And tonight, with my special guest, Mr. Ed Brown, we dive into the phenomenon that is Bigfoot. We'll talk about him, his research, his productions, his shows on YouTube, and much more. Thank you so much, Ed, for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, Zach, thanks for having me, man. It sounds like a lot of fun, and kind of looking forward to being on your show. Appreciate the invite.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been a long time coming, and I do appreciate you coming on. I've been wanting to get you on here for quite some time, ever since I heard about you. So let's jump right in. Let's get down to business. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Ed.
Well, I like long walks on the beach. I like soft music. I'm kidding. No, it's actually funny because I kind of got into this whole Bigfoot thing a long time ago. Watching the Patterson Gimlin film. Really enjoyed that, and it was a mystery. Is there really monsters out there? I'm a little kid, just found it fascinating. And so I kind of got into the whole Bigfoot thing a while back, but didn't get on Facebook into the community, quote unquote, until probably just 4 or 5 years ago, I guess, and met with Dan Lindholm of Bigtruth, and the rest is history. We started this little show called Sit Down with Ed Brown, and I got extremely lucky with who I had an opportunity to talk to, and from there it grew into what it is.
That's very interesting. Before we go into a lot of stuff, tell us about your show, Sit Down with Ed Brown. I myself have watched a couple episodes, and some of the guests on there, I mean, you're like the Larry King of the Bigfoot talk show. You ask the hard-hitting questions, you don't pull no punches, you're straightforward. So that I'll give you a little bit of praise on that. Go ahead, tell us about your show.
Well, I think number one and first and foremost, it's respect. I don't agree with everything people say on my show. With every guest, I mean, I have guests from all corners of the Bigfoot genre. Everybody has their own opinions. Everybody has their own thoughts and ideas, and you've got to be able to treat each one with respect, and each one give them the floor. It's not my job to tell them whether they're true or not, or what I believe or what they believe is wrong or right. It's not my place to do that. So what I do is I give them a platform to speak, let them talk about what their opinions and views are, and I never question it. As far as asking hard questions, I put myself in the position of what do I think my viewers want to know about this person? For example, when I recently interviewed Todd Standing, I asked him point blank, how do you feel when people talk about calling them Muppets and things like that? So if you do it with respect and you don't say, come on now, they're just Muppets. You know what I mean? I mean, it's the way you ask questions, and it's been successful.
That's a very special show. I really do like it because you're right there talking to them, whether it be on Skype, on a podcast, or even for example, Bob Gimlin that you interviewed, which is one of my most favorite shows and episodes and guests you've ever had on there. And I can only imagine what it's like to sit right next to Bob Gimlin and actually listen to that man talk.
It's amazing. I mean, I'll tell you what. There's very few people in this, and I don't mean Bigfoot in general. I mean in the world, who is classier, more upstanding. He's not going to lie to you. He's going to tell you the truth. And he said something. And if you've seen the interview, you'll remember this. But he said something to me that resonates, and I think about it a lot. But he said, Ed, I only want to be half the man my dogs think I am. And I thought, wow, what a comment, and it's just how he is. He's just that kind of guy. He's a great guy.
So, You've been into the Bigfoot community now for the past 5 years, you say. What got
Right?
you into Bigfooting in general, besides the
Well,
Patterson Gimlin film?
sure, sure. Well, in 2007, 10 years ago, actually, I had a back injury at work. I was out of work for 8 months, um, bored to death. So I wrote a book, and I went into started doing some research on Bigfoot, and it just kind of drew me into it deeper than what I had been before. So for the first 5 years, it was all armchair research, checking it out, reading the reports. I didn't even know that there was a Bigfoot community on Facebook. I was on Facebook, but I didn't even know that it even existed. So one day, I just out of pure boredom, I just typed in Bigfoot, and I just kind of joined a couple groups, and it kind of got me where I am.
Out of everything that you've seen, that sticks out to you in the world of Bigfoot, like you do research, correct?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Field work, etc.
Yes, sir.
What is the most what's the trying to get my words together? What is the highlight of your research that you've found, and like any experiences you've had that you care to tell us about? Go right into those. We're all ears.
Sure, sure. I've had a. If you're asking me what my favorite one piece of evidence is that I've seen or collected myself, would have to be when I was in Alabama. Um, Adam Davis and I went to Alabama to do a few day investigation there at a young lady's house who has had an ongoing problem with Bigfoot on her property. So while we were there, a couple of her friends came, and there was 5 of us all together there that evening. And we're walking down the street, and there's this road. Now you got to understand. I know it sounds funny. You talk about walking down the middle of the road, but in on that road, there's it's in the middle of nowhere. It's not like walking down my street where you see a house every 50 feet. This is in the middle of nowhere, woods out the yin yang, and so we were walking down this road, and to our left, we heard something rustling around in the woods. Well, Denise, and I can't say her last name to save my life, but she is a tank. I love this girl to death. She's like a little older, very very petite, very small, like 60 years old, very small, and she just went right on into the woods. Just like, well, I'm gonna find out what it is. By God, just right on in. Another guy that was with us, Jason. He goes in with her just to make sure she's okay. So that left Ashley Jacobs, myself, and Adam out on the street. Well, while we were out there, Ashley had said that she saw what looked to her like moonlight reflecting off a hair. Like something had moved, and it looked like hair to her. So she and I go in. We're in there probably a good 10, 15 minutes. Probably, we got flashlights. We're looking for footprints. We're looking for whatever we can find. We don't find anything. We come back out, and nobody's there. So I'm like, I wonder where everybody is. And she goes, "What? I don't know where they are." So I said, "Well, let's find out." So I said, I yelled really loud. I yelled, "Roll call," really loud. Expecting they would hear me, because we did hear some rustling in the woods, by the way. I forgot to mention it. We still heard rustling in the woods. I just assumed it was Denise and Jason. And so I yelled roll call really loud. And right away I get a response. And to me it sounded like, here. Like something had just said, here. So I'm like, okay, that's one. And then Ashley said, well, I see a light way down the street. So I assumed, and again, I just assumed that was Adam. So I said, well, let's go down to where Adam is by himself, because he shouldn't be by himself out here, So we start walking down the road, and we've walked probably a quarter mile, and the light started coming towards us. So we're assuming we're just going to run into Adam. Well, lo and behold, we run into Denise. And I said, is Adam down there? And she goes, yeah, they both are. So Ashley and I kind of looked at each other like, wait a minute. Something just responded to me. Well, coincidentally, I did get it on audio. I actually got it on audio, and I sent it to David Ellis, who cleaned it up, amplified it, and the response was actually a mimic. it actually said roll call back to me, you know. So as if that wasn't cool enough, the next day we went in there. Ashley and Jason had gone in there to look for any footprints or anything in the area, and um, we found some hairs about 9 feet up in a tree, maybe 8 feet up in a tree, and it was on a little twig at like a little knuckle, you know, and there was a whole little tuft of hair there. So it was pretty interesting, you know. We actually sent the hair with Jason, and Jason mailed me the hair back to me in California. And unfortunately, when I got the envelope, a rodent had eaten into the envelope, and the hair was gone.
Oh man.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, that's kind of like you know, the way Bigfooting works, though. You know, it just, you know, it sucks, but it happens, and you know, you go looking for more. That's all you can do.
Man, that's got to be bad luck. You got luck like I do.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. But I've always called that my roll call incident, and again, I've got that on audio. I haven't released it. You know, I haven't put it out publicly yet or nothing like that. But that is my favorite in the field moment, as far as getting any kind of things that I would consider evidence.
There's people saying on the live chat that you may need to put your mouth closer to the phone. They can't hear you.
Okay, how about that? Is that better? Give me a thumbs up if that's better.
I can hear you clear. I don't know about them. If you guys go ahead, give us a like, Spike. Tell us if we can hear him good. But anyway, while we're keep on going, what is it that draws you to the topic that is Bigfoot? Is it the mystery, the adventure, what have you?
You know, it's both actually. It's getting to go on these many adventures to try to solve a mystery. You know, so they both apply. Uh, I always tell people it's like you go out looking for Bigfoot, and I've been out in the field. Gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many times I've been out in the field, but very seldom do I actually get any evidence. You know, I don't always think, okay, there was a Bigfoot here or anything like that. You know, so but when you have those experiences or lack of experiences, then that's when you sit back and you look at what God created. I mean, oh my God, you know, you get yourself like when I'd go out with Dan Lindholm up there in Southern Oregon, and just the area is just beautiful. The mountains and the water and the trees. I mean, it's beautiful. So not only are you out looking and trying to solve a mystery, but you're getting to soak in some beautiful areas, some beautiful terrain, and just fall back in love with nature. You know, so that's what it's about for me.
So, how long have you been at this? Before you went public with your research, how long before this was you into this?
You mean like into Bigfoot in general, or?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been. Gosh, I guess I was probably just a little kid when I was. I remember I was in elementary or middle school, and we were doing a little thing where everybody had to go to the library and read all day long. And if you fell asleep, you got kicked out. It was kind of like a King of the Hill thing, you know. Whoever lasted the longest won a trophy, you know. And the idea was to teach us to want to read, you know. So I was going in and looking for books on, you know, baseball players like Ty Cobb and Pete Rose and all these guys, you know, and also the cryptids. You know, I read books on Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. I found stuff that kept me interested. So that's probably when my interest really got, I guess, born. I guess you could say, you know. So, what, you know, just a kid reading books.
Now, here's a personal question I got. Do you research Bigfoot and investigate cases just Bigfoot, or do you investigate other types of cryptids?
Well, I actually find, and that's a great question. While Bigfoot is where people seem to know me from, but I find that I actually like the paranormal a little bit more. So I love going into paranormal situations and checking into that stuff. And but if you name it, I like it. If it's a mystery, I mean, I like conspiracy theories. I like cryptids. I like extraterrestrial. I like paranormal. You name it, I love it.
Have you, in your years of doing research, have you ever had like any encounters besides the one with you and Adam Davis in Alabama that stick out to you? Like, do you feel like they would have, if they had the intention to harm you, or if they were just being observant?
I've seen things that I think were Bigfoot, but I just don't know. You see something move between the trees, and you're like, crap, right on the heels of hearing wood knocks, or right on the heels of hearing a scream, or a footfall, or something like that. But I did have a sighting that at least I believe it was a Bigfoot. I mean, I can't unfortunately prove it, so I don't try to, you know. But I was in southeast Kentucky, down in Harlan County. This was 2000. What would that have been? 2012, I guess. 2013, something like that. But I was. It was wintertime. Snow was like 13, 14 inches deep. I was climbing up this mountain because I seen what looked like a trackway up on top of this mountain behind the cabin, and I wanted to get up there and just check it out, see what it was. And never did make it, by the way, but I tried. So I'm trying to climb this mountain, and I'm literally on my hands and knees climbing through the snow and ice as I'm trying to get up there. And I heard this very, very definitive wood knock from quite a distance behind me. I mean, it was a very solid piece of wood hitting a very solid piece of wood. And I kind of froze there for a second. I listened, hoping to hear it again to try to determine where it came from. So never happened again. I turned around and I kind of sat down on this hill, and I take out my binoculars and I'm looking around and I'm looking through the other mountains, and lo and behold, there was something bipedal walking down the side of this mountain, just as easy as it could be. I remember I'm literally walking up this mountain on my hands and knees because it's so hard to get through, and this thing is walking down the mountain with no problem whatsoever, none. It was too far away to get any clear detail, but all I can tell you is its hands were straight down by its side, its head was looking down to its feet, and it was just walking down the mountain with no problem whatsoever. So that was very interesting.
Okay, we have a question on the live feed, and it comes from a friend of ours, Shaggy Packy's asking, does your the side job that you do that I've heard a lot about, does that help with your researching, or do you put every bit of money that you make back to it?
That's a great question. Obviously, I have what I think is the best job in the world. I get to drive all over the country. So I go where I want. I'm my own boss. Nobody tells me where to go, where I can go, when to go. So I get to go wherever I want to go. So all I got to do is find a hot spot, get invited, and I can pretty much make that happen. So my job actually definitely helps with my research because I could be anywhere, anytime, and I've taken advantage of that. Absolutely. Good question, Steve.
So, um, another question I got, you're supposed to be speaking at the ECBRO Virginia State Bigfoot Conference this next year. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, he's got some really good speakers going to be there. I mean, he's got Ron Moorhead. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But he's putting together what sounds like a pretty good first event, first year, and kudos to him for that. I'm looking forward to it. Anytime I get an opportunity to meet people, I love taking that opportunity. So I'm really looking forward to that. The ECBRO conference in Virginia. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I know you can Google that, by the way. I know or not Google, but you can go on Facebook and just type in ECBRO, and I'm sure you'll find all kinds of information on that. But it's June 30th, or the last day of June, first day of July. So definitely going to be there. Definitely going to be a lot of fun. And to extend on Shaky's answer, yeah, see, this is a good opportunity where my job is going to pay off. See, because now I can just work my way there. So, a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I'm going to be there for 4 days. I'm going to be there the day before, the 2 days during the conference, and then the day after I'm leaving out. Daniel asked me to be the MC for the conference.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll
So,
look forward to meeting you there. That'd be great.
absolutely. He asked me about getting a chance to be the MC not long ago, and I sat there and I thought about it, and I told him, I said, I ain't asking for no pay. Just make sure my mom has a good hotel to stay in, and make sure we have gas money to get back home. I'll sleep in the dirt.
I hear you, man. I'll tell you what, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and of course it's gonna be summertime, so I definitely urge people, go out and camp out, have a good time.
So, what's next for Ed Brown?
What's next for Ed Brown? There are some things coming around the corner, some things that unfortunately, I can't talk about just yet, but they're coming up pretty soon. So definitely want to keep your ears open and keep a lookout because there are some things coming up. I got some things other things that I'm working on though. I'm going to be going up to Southern Oregon with Dan, and we're going to a really really great spot. We've had lots of activity. He's had tons of activity. We've had some great things that we found up there. We're gonna go up there, do a little filming up there. So we got that coming up this spring. Uh, there's a possibility that I'll be in another movie. So looking forward to that. So we got some things in the works and keep me busy. So keep your fingers crossed.
So here's another question. A lot of people that is listening that are from my area here in Southern Illinois. What is Bigtruth Productions?
Bigtruth Productions. That is a term coined by my brother from another mother, Mr. Dan Lindholm, who is Bigtruth, by the way. And basically, the idea behind it is that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the big truth. We don't. I always say it like this, and it's hard to get this vision when I'm on the phone. But if you hold out your right hand as far as you can, and you say, "There's a lot of people who think this," then you hold out your left hand really, really far, and you say, "Then there's a lot more people who think this." Well, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, because I can tell you, in my opinion, very few people are right. Unless you've actually seen these things with your own eyes. Let me back up. I want to make it a little deeper because I think that's a great question. If you don't get out in the field and you're not out there, with your boots on the ground, you're not in the brush looking around, and you're only listening to what you're hearing on podcasts, or you're only reading on, websites and posts, and you're probably wrong, because people are going to form an opinion based on what other people are based on their opinions. So it's really tough if you're not out there doing it and you haven't had a sighting and you haven't experienced it. Odds are you're probably wrong. Probably. I'm not downing anybody or anything like that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but odds are you're wrong. So what we're looking for is the big truth. So that's where that was tagged.
Like Dan Lindholm just says, we're searching for the bigger truth wherever it leads.
Exactly. I don't care. We don't care what the answer is. We just want to find the answer. Which I think is another good point, because the only way you're going to find that answer is by listening, having an open mind, and at least listening to the other side. If even if you don't agree with them, at least listen. There might be one little piece of tidbit information that they may say that goes, oh, yeah, that would be fitting. So open your minds, listen to the other side. Don't formulate a final hypothesis yet. Do your research, look at it, and find the bigger truth.
That's very, very, what's the word for it? Very bold statement, very good statement, and that all ring out. Well, Ed, I do appreciate you coming on my show, my friend.
Oh man, a lot of fun. I definitely appreciate you having me on, and definitely anytime, just let me know.
And so, if anyone is, and if you're in the area that you go, and people have any kind of like encounters they'd want to hand you or report to you, how can they reach you?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a couple different ways. Number one, and probably the best way to reach me directly, is just send me a message on Messenger. I read them all day long. I get them, so I'll definitely be able to respond. I respond to every message I get, or at least try to. And of course, when you can also go to our Bigtruth channel, watch any of the videos, make a comment below, and I promise you, either Dan or myself won, or Shaky, by the way. Shaky is also now a full-fledged member of Bigtruth. Congratulations, Shaky, man. Glad to have you on with us. And, one of us will get a hold of you.
That's very good. If there's any little bit of advice that you'd want to leave our viewers here on Backwoods Investigations, what would it be?
Great question. And I'm this may not be a very popular answer, but in my opinion, I think people need to be more critical of their own evidence, and take the time. Just because you hear something doesn't mean it's a Bigfoot, and I'm going to give you a perfect example. We were in Soha, actually. We were up in Southern Oregon, and we were out there, and I'll tell you what, I heard something walking paralleling me. Something was walking next to me, probably 40 feet away, but something was walking next to me, and I'm like, man, that sounds so heavy, I turned around, I aimed the camera over, and I'm watching for it, thinking, if something's over there, I'm going to get it. It was a little grouse, a bird no bigger than a chicken, smaller than a chicken. But it made an awful lot of noise, The point is, that kind of taught me, okay, be more critical of my own evidence, Don't just assume. Do my research. Look into it. Investigate it. And I promise you, you'll be a better investigator when you do.
That's like I tell everybody, especially any seasoned hunter will tell you, where you think you might have a big buck coming right up behind your stand, it's just some little squirrel going through the leaves.
Exactly. Those little critters can make a lot of noise.
And then my buddy Shaky was telling me, saying how most people they could think during the fall that it could be, especially Daniel Benoit said, that they think they could be hearing tree knocks, could be hearing the tree nuts falling out of the tree and hitting the tree.
Yeah, that's true. And I'll tell you what, where we live over here in Crestline, California, we live up in the mountains, and we have a lot of trees right around our house. And the pine cones started falling, and they would hit the roof, And I can't tell you how many times Claudia would be like, what was that? What was that? I said, it's just a pine cone, Or the dogs jump up and they start barking. You hear things, and 99% of the time there's a logical explanation. You just have to find the answer. And the just, I would never criticize someone's research, at least publicly. But I promise you, if you're more critical with your own research, you'll be taken more seriously as a researcher. No matter what you're finding, no matter what you're showing, or no matter what your evidence is, if you're more critical with your own research, people are going to be more respectful of you, and you're going to be a better respected researcher.
Like one of the listeners saying, Scott Phillips, he says, I have heard geese flying low at night, and they sound just like whoops.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of things, especially like I tell everybody, you need to know whenever you're going into an area, know the wildlife that's in the area before you even go in there. Don't go in there half-cocked thinking that, oh, I'm going to find the Bigfoot, I'm going to find some kind of evidence. Know the wildlife, because there's things out there that can kill you.
Sure. Absolutely right.
Like about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that guy up in Oregon that got attacked by a sow bear, not once but twice.
Wow.
He hit her with bear spray, and she still got him. But that's like I tell everybody, especially and even Daniel Benoit will tell you, and I agree wholeheartedly with him. Know the wildlife before you go into any area, no matter where in the country. Know the land. Know the lay of the land. Know what wildlife is in the area before you even go anywhere.
Sure, and I think that's great advice. That's really good advice. And to just extend on that just a little bit, also have a way out. Already plan a way out. If there's a bear or a mountain lion, kind of think subconsciously, but plan an escape route in case you need one.
Exactly. But well, I've had fun tonight, Ed. I do. Again, I appreciate you coming on the show. Be sure, everybody, to check out Bigtruth Productions by Mr. Ed Brown and Mr. Dan Lindholm. Be lookout for whenever they may be in your area. I'm pretty sure they enjoy talking to anybody.
Absolutely.
Well, Ed, I do appreciate you coming on the show, my friend. Until then, I'll see you on the trail. I'll see you in Virginia next year.
Absolutely. We'll see you in just about 6 months away, brother. Just coming up.
If you're in my area of Southern Illinois, look me up. I'm not hard to find.
Sounds good. Will do.
All right, buddy. You take care, and I'll see you on the trail.
All right, Zach. Thanks for having me, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that does it for another episode of Backwoods Investigations with Blimp. I do appreciate everybody coming on and listening. Until then, I'll see you soon. Be sure to tune in next time for my next guest. Until then, keep a wary eye out, keep your ears to the wind, and your nose on the ground. I'll see you guys soon. Peace out, everybody.